were very much the same now all of a sudden, because I was no longer this girl that walked in fancy clothes with fancy hair and fancy shoes. I was a woman that had been through something exactly the same way that they had. And not only had I been through something that they had been through, I had made it. I had made it past that moment. And at the end of that day, one right at the event and then later through email, two of those women approached me and came and said that they were going to commit suicide that day. And that as a result of the conversation, as a result of being in my presentation, they now had hope again. They were now able to see some value in their life and actually continue on and have a way to maybe give it another try and not go down that route today. And had I stayed in my space of my presentation, my clothing, the applause, or whatever it was I maybe was looking for in the beginning, rather than focusing on coming from my heart and being who I am, I may not have touched those two lives. Those two lives may not even still be around today. But by dropping the mask, it allowed me to connect and engage with those women in a way that made a huge difference for them, I can tell you, but an even bigger difference in some ways for me. Because I realized that by being who I am, as I am, and sharing that, it allowed me to connect with people on a more authentic and a more genuine level. And if it's one thing for me personally that I've learned in life, when you come from a place of truth, you can never go wrong, because nobody can argue with the truth. Nobody can argue with who you really are once you accept who you really are. Do you have flaws? Do I have flaws? Of course we do. But by accepting them and having that awareness with them and even embracing them, it kind of takes the yuckiness of them away, and it takes away the negativity of it. And I know that when I laugh about myself, some of the things that go on, and I make those types of jokes amongst my clients and I share my personal stories, I get a lot further ahead with them in terms of creating change, helping them to feel accepted and lose their own judgment, because by accepting who you are, people feel comfortable to accept who they are around you. And this has been a great thing for me in not only my coaching practice, but in my personal and private relationships, displaying the vulnerability. And it does take practice, and it's something that you will continue to embrace and embody as you grow through the years. As much as I started doing it years ago, as recently as this past weekend, I was with family members, and my cousin and I got into a discussion that turned into some sort of a dispute. And I was having the conversation with him, and then suddenly I started to feel myself getting emotional. I started to feel tears coming to my eyes, and I began to feel weak. And I wanted to just bolt. I didn't want anybody to see the vulnerability of it. So I moved off into the corner and I was crying, and I couldn't really collect myself. I couldn't stop myself from crying. So I motioned out to one of my other cousins and I asked him to could you just bring my purse so I could just leave? And people that love you, they want to help you. They want to help, so he was like, no, you shouldn't go. He went and got my other cousin and they tried to talk me down. And all I could feel in that moment was, oh my God, my vulnerability is being exposed to the whole world. My emotions are being exposed to everyone. Now everyone knows I'm crying. And again, I just tried to leave and tried to leave. And the conversation with my cousin that I had the dispute with continued on after that. And it came down to me turning into an angry person, me getting angry with him and almost volatile, because I wanted to protect myself again. I wanted to put my mask back on and feel safe with it. I wanted to feel like I was covered up. And so I chose anger to cover up the vulnerability. And it wasn't until after the event I realized what had really happened between us was that my feelings were hurt. And I felt weak by that. And having been one of the very few girls in a family full of boys, I felt, you know what, they were going to look down on me in some way. And I allowed that to lead me, my emotions and my fear of being vulnerable to lead me. So I tried very quickly to put the mask back on, but it really didn't work. And when I got home and I realized that, you know what, just take the mask off. Maybe next time, instead of jumping down his throat, I could really just say, you know what, my feelings feel very hurt by this conversation. I just need to let you know that. And I'm pretty sure it would have sparked a whole different interaction. So I'm encouraging you all to just sort of take a look at the mask that you put on every day and give it some consideration as to taking it off. You don't have to pull the whole thing off right away if you don't want to. Maybe you can peel a layer off at a time, let an eye peek out, let a nose peek out, and see how it goes from there. But just take that one step. And by doing that, I mean take that one step to accept yourself without covering up who you truly are inside. Take that one step at accepting yourself as you are and seeing the benefits of maybe somebody else accepting you as well. I want to remind you to stop waiting and start living 365, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.